You've watched the movies, you've read the books, and somewhere in the back of your mind you've thought, I could make it through Mordor. After all, 2 hobbits did it, and they're what, 3 feet tall? No combat training, no survival experience. Just a couple of guys from the Shire who'd never seen anything more dangerous than an angry farmer. So tonight, we're running the numbers. We're looking at the actual geography, the documented troop movements, the environmental conditions, and the threats you'd face. You're dropped at Mordor's border with basic gear, a weapon, some rope, a water skin, and whatever knowledge you've gleaned from Tolkien's world. Your goal is simple: survive 72 hours in the most fortified, hostile, and actively evil realm in Middle-earth. Let's see how long you last. The entry point, Hour 0. First decision, how do you get in? This isn't a small problem. Mordor is surrounded on 3 sides by mountain ranges. The arid Lithui to the north, the Ephel Duath to the west and south. These aren't gentle hills. These are the Ash Mountains and the Mountains of Shadow, arranged in an almost perfect rectangle around Sauron's realm, like a fortress wall built by the geography itself. There are exactly 4 ways in, and they're all terrible. Option 1, the Black Gate, also known as the Morannon. This is Mordor's main entrance, built by Sauron in the Second Age, with the power of the One Ring itself. The gate spans the gap between 2 mountain ranges, set into a wall of black stone and iron. On either side stand the Towers of the Teeth, Narcost and Carcost, garrisoned with thousands of orcs in hundreds of guard holes. When the army of the West approaches this gate, they see exactly what you'd be walking into: a killing field. The gate is opened by mountain trolls pulling massive chains. It's guarded by Olog High, the super trolls Sauron bred specifically to be smarter and immune to sunlight. Orc patrols sweep the approach constantly. If you choose this route, you die. Not might die, you die. There's no sneaking past this. Frodo and Sam watched an entire army of Easterlings march through, and even in that chaos they knew it was impossible. You'd be spotted, surrounded, and killed or captured within minutes. Survival time, 10 minutes maximum. Option 2, the Morgul Pass. This route goes through Minas Morgul, the Tower of Sorcery, home of the Witch King himself. The air around this place is so corrupted that it glows with a sickly light. The Nazgul Lord's presence is so overwhelming that even Gollum, who spent centuries in darkness, is terrified of it. You'd have to pass directly by the tower. The Witch King might be out leading armies, but the tower is still garrisoned, and even if it weren't, the psychological effect of this place is documented. It radiates dread. Frodo, carrying the ring, nearly breaks here. You, without any magical protection, would likely freeze in terror or worse. Survival time, 30 minutes if you're incredibly lucky. Option 3, Cirith Ungol, the secret pass. The one Gollum knows about. There's a reason it's secret. It goes through Shelob's lair. Shelob is older than Sauron's presence in Mordor. She's been hunting in these mountains since the First Age. She's the last child of Ungoliant, the spider creature that helped Morgoth destroy the 2 trees of Valinor. Her webs are strong enough to trap elves and men. Her venom paralyzes but doesn't kill, because she prefers her food alive. The pass itself is a maze of tunnels filled with bones and ancient webs. It's pitch black, it stinks of death and rot, and Shelob can sense vibration through her webs like a spider waiting in its parlour. Even if you somehow make it past her, and you won't, but let's pretend, you exit directly at the Tower of Cirith Ungol, which was garrisoned by orcs. Frodo only survived this route because Sam rescued him, and because the orc captains Gorbag and Shagrat killed each other fighting over his mithril shirt. You don't have a Sam, you don't have mithril, you don't have luck. Survival time, 2 hours if Shelob is hunting elsewhere, 2 minutes if she's home. Option 4, the eastern approach. Look at a map of Mordor. The eastern side is open, right? No mountains. Surely that's the easy way in. This is a trap of a different kind. The eastern plains of Mordor are crisscrossed with roads that run to Rhûn and beyond. These roads are constantly patrolled by Easterlings, men who serve Sauron. They're not orcs you might be able to confuse or evade. They're actual soldiers, disciplined, organized, and familiar with the terrain. Moreover, there's no cover. It's flat. The armies of the east march these roads regularly, and Sauron's surveillance is focused here precisely because it's the unguarded route. Anyone trying to sneak through this way is exactly what the patrols are looking for. Survival time, 4 hours if you're extremely cautious, 30 minutes if you're not. So where does that leave you? Your best option, your only option with even a ghost of a chance, is to do what Frodo and Sam did. Take the Cirith Ungol Pass, but with perfect timing. You need to go through when Shelob is hunting elsewhere in the mountains, when the Orc garrison is distracted, and when you can move in the chaos of the War of the Ring pulling troops away. Let's say you hit that lottery. You make it through the pass, you slip past the tower in the confusion of the Orcs fighting each other, and you descend into Mordor proper. Congratulations. You've survived the first hour. Now the real nightmare begins. Hours 2 to 12. You're standing on the slopes below Cirith Ungol, looking out at the plateau of Gorgoroth. Let me paint this picture clearly. Gorgoroth is a volcanic wasteland. Black rock, ash plains, and in the centre, Mount Doom itself, Orodruin, still active, still belching smoke and fire. The air is thick with volcanic fumes. The ground radiates heat. There are no streams, no vegetation, nothing alive except the creatures of Sauron. Tolkien describes it specifically. A dying land, not yet dead. Even the scrubby plants that exist are twisted, thorny, and poisonous. Your first problem is immediate. Water. The water skin you brought holds maybe 2 litres. In this heat, with this dry air, with physical exertion from climbing down into the valley, you're losing water through sweat and respiration at an alarming rate. In normal desert conditions, you'd need 4 to 6 litres per day minimum. But this isn't a normal desert. This is a volcanic plateau where the air itself is hostile. You have maybe 12 hours before dehydration becomes critical, 24 before it kills you. But wait, you say, Frodo and Sam survive for days. Yes, with lembas bread, elvish waybread that sustains far beyond normal food, and with water from Henneth Annan and whatever sources they could find. Even then, they nearly died of thirst. Sam specifically notes how the water they have is getting low, how it tastes stale and warm. You don't have lembas, you have whatever rations you brought, and they're running out. Your second problem, visibility, works both ways. From where you are, you can see Barad-dûr. The Dark Tower rises at the northern edge of Gorgoroth, at the end of a spur from the Ash Mountains. It's not just a fortress, it's nearly a mile high, topped with the Eye of Sauron. Now, let's talk about the Eye, because the movies gave you a very specific image, a giant flaming eyeball that can see everything. That's cinematic license. In the book, the Eye is more complicated. It's described as a window through which Sauron can direct his will and attention. He can't see everything simultaneously, but when he looks somewhere, he sees. The Eye is currently searching for the ring. It's sweeping west, toward the armies marching on the Black Gate toward Gondor and Rohan. It's not focused on Gorgoroth itself, because why would it be? This is Sauron's realm. Nothing should be here that isn't supposed to be here. But if you do something to draw attention, light a fire, get caught by a patrol that reports to Barad-dûr, engage in combat that creates a disturbance, that attention can pivot, and if the Eye looks directly at you, you're done. The Nazgul will be dispatched, you'll be found. Your third problem, the patrols. Gorgoroth isn't empty. Sauron has armies numbering in the tens of thousands, and while most are marshalled for the attack on Gondor, plenty remain. Orc patrols sweep the plateau constantly, not looking for you specifically, but looking for exactly the kind of thing you are. An intruder, a spy, something that shouldn't be there. And here's where the text gives us useful information. When Frodo and Sam are crossing Gorgoroth, they encounter multiple patrols. They hide in a ditch, cover themselves with orc cloaks, and at one point actually join a marching company of orcs to avoid detection. Could you do that? Maybe. The orc cloaks help because orcs have poor eyesight in daylight and recognize each other more by smell and profile than by face. If you can pass for an orc at a distance in the dark, you might avoid immediate detection. But here's the thing about orc patrols. They're mean, suspicious, and they hate each other. The text is very clear about this. Gorbag and Shagrat's companies literally fight to the death over Frodo's mithril shirt. Different orc groups from different commanders are constantly at each other's throats. This is actually your advantage. Orcs are expecting other orcs to be hostile and weird. If you can mimic that energy, keep your head down, grunt, act surly. You might pass a casual inspection, but the moment someone questions you directly, or you don't respond to orders in the black speech, or you can't keep up with an orc's ground-eating stride, you're exposed. Hour 6, your water is half gone. You've been moving slowly, trying to conserve energy, trying to stay in shadow. You've hidden from 2 patrols. The heat is oppressive. Your lips are cracking. You're beginning to understand why Tolkien had Sam and Frodo move at night and rest during the day, except orcs prefer darkness. So night movement means more patrols, more risk. Hour 9, you're getting desperate for water. You try to think, is there any water in Gorgoroth? Actually, yes. To the south is Nurn, the farmland region where Sauron's slaves grow food. There are streams feeding the Sea of Nurnen, but that's days away and you'd have to cross the entire plateau to reach it. You're now in serious trouble. Dehydration is affecting your judgment. You're dizzy. Your muscles are cramping. You need water in the next few hours or you'll collapse. And you still haven't even gotten close to Mount Doom. You're just trying to survive on the plateau itself. The breakdown, hours 13 to 24. Hour 13. You make a decision. You have to find water. The only sources you know of nearby are dangerous. There's the Morgai, the inner ridge that runs parallel to the Ethel Duath, where Tolkien mentions a narrow valley with some dying vegetation. Where there's vegetation, even dead vegetation, there might be moisture. You head that direction. It's slower going than you expected because the terrain is actively hostile. The rock is sharp, volcanic glass and jagged stone that cuts through boot leather. You're leaving a blood trail without realizing it. Hour 15, you find the Morgai Valley. And yes, there's moisture here. Brackish, stagnant pools among the brambles. The water looks grey and smells sulphurous. Do you drink it? This is the kind of decision that kills people in survival situations. Bad water can give you dysentery, cholera, or other diseases that will kill you in days. But severe dehydration will kill you in hours. You drink. You have to. The water tastes like metal and ash. Your stomach immediately cramps. But it's liquid, and your body desperately needs it. Hour 17. You're violently ill. The water was contaminated with minerals or toxins from the volcanic soil. You're vomiting, which makes the dehydration worse. You found shelter in a crevice in the rock, partially hidden by dead brambles. This is where the psychological element starts to break you. Tolkien is very specific that Mordor isn't just physically dangerous. The land itself is corrupted. It exerts a spiritual weight. Frodo and Sam both feel it, a crushing despair, a sense that all hope is lost, that they'll never escape even if they complete their quest. You feel it now, a creeping certainty that you're going to die here, that even if you survive the next hour, and the hour after that, eventually a patrol will find you, or you'll collapse from dehydration, or the poisoned water will kill you. Hour 20. You hear movement, orc voices speaking in the black speech too fast for you to follow. They're close, maybe 50 yards away. You press yourself into the crevice, trying not to breathe too loud. The voices get closer. Then you hear something else. Snarling, snapping. Wargs. The orcs are using wargs to sweep for intruders. Wargs hunt by scent, and you're covered in sweat, blood from your cut feet and the smell of vomit. This is where your survival comes down to pure chance. If the wind shifts, carries your scent away from the wargs, you might live. If it carries your scent toward them, you die screaming. The patrol passes. The wind was in your favor. Hour 24. You've survived a full day. You're sick, dehydrated despite the water you found, exhausted and mentally breaking. But you're alive. You've done better than 90% of people would. You've also used up most of your luck. The next 24 hours are going to be worse. The convergence, hours 25 to 48, hour 26. You need to move. Staying in one place too long increases the chance of discovery. But movement exposes you. You wait until dusk, that liminal time when it's dim enough for orc patrols to be less active, they prefer full night, but still light enough for you to see terrain hazards. This is when you make your biggest mistake. You move out into open ground, trying to cover distance quickly, and a fell beast passes overhead. The Nazgul ride these creatures, massive flying monsters with beaks and claws described as having a putrid reek and a paralyzing shriek. Even when the ringwraith isn't riding it, the fell beast itself is a hunter. You freeze. The old wisdom, don't move when a predator is near. But fell beasts hunt by sight and smell, and you're in open terrain with no cover. The creature circles. You're not the ring, so you're not its primary target. But you're prey, and it's a predator. It dives. You run. There's a cluster of rocks ahead, the remains of some ancient fortification maybe, now just rubble. You sprint for it as the fell beast's shadow covers you. You make it to the rocks a second before talons strike where you were standing. The creature shrieks, that bone-deep sound that makes your knees weak. It circles again, frustrated, then it flies off. Not because you escaped, but because something else has drawn its attention. A signal from Barad-dûr maybe, a command from its Nazgul master. You just got lucky for the third or fourth time. Your luck is running out. Hour 30. You're in the rocks trying to calm your racing heart. This is when you realize the bigger problem with Mordor. It's not just that every creature wants you dead, it's that the entire realm is designed to prevent escape. The mountains box you in, the plains offer no cover. The fortifications and roads create channels that funnel movement into predictable patterns where patrols can intercept. And over it all, Barad-dûr watches. This is why Sauron chose this place. It's a prison as much as a fortress. Hour 36. You've been moving in fits and starts, hiding more than travelling. You're maybe 10 miles into Mordor now. Mount Doom is visible, closer than before, but still impossibly far. The mountain belches smoke and occasionally erupts with small lava flows that light up the plateau. You're starting to see why Frodo and Sam's journey took days even with a relatively direct route. The terrain slows you. The need to hide slows you. Fear slows you. And you're seeing more troop movements now. Not just orc patrols, but organised companies. Battalions marching in formation toward the Black Gate. The war is accelerating. Hour 40. You have another close call. A company of orcs camps within 100 yards of your hiding spot. You can hear them arguing, fighting, eating whatever they eat. You don't want to know. The smell is overwhelming. A mix of rot, smoke, and something acrid. They're there for hours. You don't dare move. You barely dare breathe. One of them wanders close to your position to relieve himself. He's 5 feet away. You can see the yellow of his eyes, the scars on his face, the crude iron of his armor. He pauses, sniffs the air. Then another orc shouts at him, some insult in the black speech, and he turns away, shouting back, "Lucky again." Hour 48. You've now survived 2 full days. You're in terrible shape. You're dehydrated again despite finding another brackish pool. You're weak from lack of real food. Your feet are shredded. You might have heat stroke. And you're starting to hallucinate. The lack of sleep, the stress, the toxins in the water, they're affecting your brain. You see movement that isn't there. You hear voices. This is how people die in extreme environments. Not dramatically, but through accumulated damage. Your body is shutting down incrementally. The end game. Hours 49 to 72. Hour 50. You're close enough to Mount Doom now to feel its heat even from a distance. The air is thick with sulfur. Every breath hurts. And this is where the real problem becomes clear. Even if you survive the patrols, even if you avoid the fell beasts and the wargs and the trolls, the environment itself will kill you. Mount Doom is an active volcano. The fumes it produces include sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, all of which are toxic. At high enough concentrations, they're lethal. Frodo and Sam both nearly die from this. They're crawling by the end, barely able to breathe, kept alive only by their will and perhaps by something greater. By the narrative itself, by fate, by Eru's design. You don't have that. You're not the ring bearer. You're not part of the story. You're just a person who wandered into hell. Hour 55. Let's talk about the ways you die from here. Option 1. Dehydration and heat stroke. This is the most likely at 60%. You've been operating on minimal water for more than 2 days. Your body's core temperature is elevated from the volcanic heat. Your organs are beginning to fail. Even if nothing else kills you, This will. Option 2. Patrol capture. 20% probability. You've been incredibly lucky so far, but statistics catch up. Eventually a patrol finds you. Maybe the wargs finally catch your scent. Maybe you stumble into a sentry post you didn't know was there. Maybe you're just too weak to hide effectively anymore. If captured, you're taken to the nearest orc commander, who decides what to do with you. Best case, you're killed quickly. Worst case, you're interrogated. Orcs have creative ideas about interrogation. Then you're killed slowly. Option 3. Fell beast or warg attack. You've already had one close call with a fell beast. Wargs hunt in packs, and they're getting more active as armies mobilize. If you encounter them in the open with no cover, you die. They're fast, vicious, and they hunt as a coordinated group. Option 4. Volcanic fumes. 5%. You get too close to Mount Doom or to one of the many fissures that vent toxic gases. You collapse. You die of asphyxiation or poisoning before anyone even finds you. Option 5. Nazgul detection. 4%. This requires you to do something that draws the eye's attention directly to your area, or for you to be unlucky enough that a Nazgul on patrol happens to sense you. But if this happens, it's over. The Nazgul are hunters of souls. They can sense life and fear, and once they find you, they don't lose you. Option 6. Shelob, if you took that route. 1%, but only because we said you got past her initially. If she picks up your trail on the way back, or if you wound up in her tunnels through bad navigation, it's 100% fatal. She's patient, ancient, and hungry, and she never misses. Hour 60, you collapse. Your body simply gives out. The dehydration, the heat, the stress, it's too much. You're lying in a hollow between rocks, barely conscious. This is where the story would end for most people. Alone, dying of thirst and heat stroke in a volcanic wasteland, with the armies of darkness marching nearby and Mount Doom erupting in the distance. But let's say you have one more miracle left. Hour 65. In the distance you hear something change. The sound of marching stops. Orc voices rise in confusion and fear. The ground shakes, not with footsteps, but with something deeper. The ring has been destroyed. Mount Doom erupts violently. The sky turns dark with ash. The ground cracks. Barad-dûr, held together by the power of the ring, begins to collapse. The massive tower crumbles in on itself with a sound like the world breaking. The orc armies scatter in panic. Some flee east, some fight each other. Some simply throw down their weapons and run mindlessly. This chaos is your only chance. Hour 70. You're moving on instinct now, crawling more than walking. The eruption has changed everything. Rivers of lava flow from Mount Doom. Ash falls like snow, but the patrols are gone. The structure that held Mordor together has collapsed. You're heading west, toward the mountains, toward escape. You have no idea if you'll make it. You can barely see through the ash. Your lungs are failing from the fumes. Hour 72. You're in the foothills of the Duath. Behind you, Mordor is destroying itself. Ahead, you can barely make out the pass. Maybe Cirith Ungol, maybe another route. You've survived 72 hours. Barely. You're more dead than alive. You need immediate medical attention. You might have permanent lung damage. You're definitely traumatized, but you're alive, and you've just done what almost no one in Middle-earth could do. The reality check. Let's be absolutely clear about something. You survived through luck, timing, and the intervention of two hobbits you never met, who destroyed the ring and threw Mordor into chaos. Without that, you were dead. Hour 60 at the latest, probably much earlier. Now let's talk about why Frodo and Sam succeeded where you failed. First, they had help. Real, tangible, magical help. Lembas bred from the elves that sustained them far beyond what normal food could do. The Phial of Galadriel that drove back Shelob. Mithril armor that saved Frodo's life at least twice. Sting, which detected orcs and could pierce trollhide. You had a water skin and a sword. Second, they had purpose. This matters in Tolkien's world more than you might think. The ring-bearer carries a burden that connects to the fate of all Middle-earth. There's a suggestion throughout the text that they're not alone, that Providence or fate or Eru Ilúvatar himself is watching over the quest, not protecting them from all harm, but ensuring they have the chances they need. Gandalf says it explicitly. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, and not by its maker, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that may be an encouraging thought. You weren't meant to be there. You're just an intruder in someone else's story. Third, they had each other. Sam saves Frodo at least 3 times by my count. He fights Shelob. He rescues Frodo from Cirith Ungol. He literally carries Frodo up Mount Doom when Frodo can't walk anymore. You're alone. No one's coming to save you. Fourth, they were built for this in a way you're not. Hobbits are tougher than they look. They have endurance, they can survive on minimal food, and they have a natural resistance to corruption that even surprises Gandalf. Frodo carries the ring for months without being destroyed by it. Something no man could do, something even Gandalf feared to attempt. You're just a person, a regular person in hell, trying not to die. The point. Would you survive 72 hours in Mordor? The honest answer is probably not. Even with perfect timing, perfect luck, and the chaos of the ring's destruction to cover your escape, the odds are against you. Mordor isn't just dangerous, it's designed to be inescapable. It's a realm where the very geography serves the Dark Lord, where the air is poison and the water is toxic, and the inhabitants are bred for cruelty, where hope itself is a scarce resource. Frodo and Sam's success wasn't just about courage or determination, it was borderline miraculous. They succeeded because they had to succeed, because the fate of the world hung on it, because they were the right people in the right place with the right help at the right time. You're none of those things. But hey, you lasted 72 hours. That's 71 hours and 50 minutes longer than most people would. Take the win. The next time you watch the movies or read the books, remember what Frodo and Sam actually accomplished. They didn't just destroy the ring, they survived Mordor itself, a feat that should have been impossible, that would have been impossible for almost anyone else. They walked into a realm specifically designed to break hope and crush life, and they kept walking. They endured poison and thirst and fear and the weight of the ring itself, and they kept walking, and when they couldn't walk anymore, they crawled. That's the real story of the quest. Not just the ring's destruction, but the refusal to give up even when every rational voice says you should. Thanks for joining us in this deep dive tonight. Until next time, stay safe and stay by the fire.